of October 2023. It is time for us to get inside the locker room as the princess is here. Tega Onojiafe joins us for locker room. Good morning, Tega.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, hop of the week.
Mhm.
Thank God it's Wednesday. What has happened so far? Nothing new. It's a it's a very slow week, so we'll probably talk about a few things. Tennis, the Shanghai Masters, and all the big names that have fallen out so far. We'll touch a little bit on the Super Eagles because they're
Yes.
playing their friendly in Portugal, Faro, Portugal.
Okay.
um, what else is happening? And then we'll touch a little bit on international football and then the war. It always seems like we're talking sports, but there's always a war involved.
The walls as it stands right now.
Yeah, the war. So we'll talk about all of that as it has affected every single person. But first of all, tell us, how can we be a part of the locker room?
Now, to be part of the conversation this morning inside the locker room, we expect to read your messages as usual through the WhatsApp platform on 0809 is where all of the messages relating to sports should come to us this morning. And we also would love you to race down to a YouTube channel where youtube.com forward slash smooth 981 FM Lagos Tega. That performance right now just made me.
But you said I should raise down like that.
So just be sure to go to youtube.com forward slash smooth 981 FM Lagos. There you see all that's going on inside the studio. And Tega will do some, halftime performances if you're lucky enough to stay
Don't look
there.
like Taylor Swift.
And don't even blink and don't even blink. But Tega, that's so far how they can be part of the conversation.
All right. On that note, let's look through the headlines of what we're going to have in the locker room, and then we'll be getting your input.
Now, for the bill this morning, we have FIFA confirms Portuguese officials for Nigeria Mozambique friendly, as we would also be keeping you posted on Shelton fights back to reach Shanghai last eight as Marozan stuns Rude in the ongoing tournament, as we also would find you something from UEFA backs out of decision to readmit Russia under 17s. Now you see where the wars Tega was talking about comes from. And then referees, Chief Howard Webb says steps taken to avoid repeat of Luis Diaz VAR error. And then there is also Belgium football star Hazard announces retirement. Let's hang up the boot. As Napoli owner asks for Super Cup to be moved from Saudi Arabia after war outbreak. And then there is also West Ham's Bowen says career best form behind England recall as Manchester United hold PSG in Women's Champions League qualifier.
All right. So a lot of Manchester United fans on my timeline were crying their eyes out. I think they want their coach fired. But, Manchester United women stood firmly against PSG. Well, especially the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper suffered. But eventually they came away with a 1-all draw. So we'll get to that story eventually. But first, let's start with what's happening with the Super Eagles and their referee.
Well, FIFA confirms Portuguese officials for Nigeria Mozambique friendly slated for next Monday for the senior international friendly match between both countries. Portuguese official Miguel will serve as the match referee, while his compatriot Polo Brass, Anna Lloyd, and Bruno Vera will work as first assistant referee, second assistant referee, and fourth official, respectively.
All right, so this Mozambique match takes place next week. I think Friday is the Saudi Arabia match friendly that we're going to have against the Saudi Arabia friendly we're going to have, yeah. But this one was the referee for the Mozambique game, which comes next. So of course it's a friendly, but it's also FIFA that will give you your referees, um, because you're still going to get points for your friendlies that are being played. Yeah, so great one for the Super Eagles camp. Like I said, one person's injury is another person's benefits as they are dropping. Nigeria, we are plenty now. 200 million, is it beans?
That's it.
So it's not like we don't miss all of you that are injured. We wish you a
Yes.
quick recovery. Don't mind me that I'm joking like this, but you know, the replacements were swift. But what is going to be important is to see how the team will line up. And I like the fact that they're using this FIFA window. Um, organizing friendlies and preparing because AFCON is 2024 January. Um, we need to get a lot of things together in order to be able to host that tournament. I remember how a lot of European clubs like to hold on to our players. They don't like to release them for AFCON because they're like, we're also playing football and we are the ones paying your salaries.
Yes.
So we need all these matches to decide who's going to go, who's not going to go, how the team will play, and what the team or who the team will be composed of. So it's a nice one to see. But
And
Friday, Nigeria takes on Saudi.
And now that leads us to the next story. Shelton fights back to reach Shanghai last eight as Marusan stuns Rude in the game that was held on Tuesday and reaches Shanghai Masters last eight in one of the biggest victory of his young career.
All right, so let's start with Morrison and Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud has had a pretty topsy-turvy year. He's one of those guys. He's not I mean, when you watch him, he's not the most beautiful to watch. He doesn't make all those showreel highlights shots. But what he is clean and effective. Keep the unforced errors down. And try to get your player on the run and get the ball behind him. He's clean, effective, like tactical like that.
Yes.
But he's had a pretty interesting year because there's been dip in form, then one or two good results here, then another dip. So this result, whilst is an upset for a lot of people, it's not surprising for those that follow tennis because he has posted results like this season. So I'm looking forward to him starting next season because I'm sure he wants to start on it. He can't wait for this season to be over. It was not a great one for him. So that wasn't surprising there. But the big one and the one we are going to be seeing for a long while now, if you thought tennis was dead, wake up. It's not. It's not like athletics. Tega, don't no shade. But I was waiting to see Ben Shelton. A lot of people must have heard about him at the US Open. In case you didn't hear about him before, you now know that young lad, the guy with the signature dialing phone ring.
Oh, call me,
yeah.
Call me.
that
Yes.
Djokovic now did the dialing and hang up. Yeah. That guy. So he came out yesterday and he's playing against one of the future stars, Yannick Sinner. Yannick Sinner is also one guy that knows how to keep his game clean, has a lot of aces of his sleeves. But if you're looking for showmanship, you are talking Ben Shelton.
Yeah.
And he didn't start the match in a pretty way. All his big serves, his big forehand that you would expect, he hit a lot of unforced error. I think he hit in the first set. He hit 3 winners and maybe 15 unforced errors. I was just like, guy, what are you doing? But it looked like everything he had, Yannick Sinner was reading through, and then he was trying to force the play a little more, and that caused him to make a lot of mistakes. But in the second set, he just plunged through. He knuckled down, labored through, got through the second set, and then the set went all the way to tie break, which won. But it was exciting to watch those two young men just go at each other, and I was just like, this is the competition we need in tennis. We talk about Carlos Alcaraz, he's 20. Ben Shelton is now 21. Yesterday was his birthday, I know, because we sang happy birthday. Yannick Sinner is also, I think, 21, maybe going on 22. So around the same age. So we have these guys that are going to be battling it out in Grand Slam finals and ATP Masters finals in a couple of years. So it was good to see that.
Well, I'd just like you to touch on fellow American also, who he would be meeting somewhere in the game.
Oh, he's meeting Sebastian Koda. Well, interesting enough player. He gets some big results, but is he one of the exciting ones? Not really. So yes, he gets some big results. Like some tournaments he comes in, he takes out a big scalp. And you're like, oh, Koda is back on it. Then the next match, right back to so that's the problem with Sebastian Koda. He knows how to play some big matches. He knows how to play some big players, and he will get those big results. But that consistency is not there.
That leaves us to drift away to UEFA issues this morning. As Tega, the last time I heard this thing, said, "Look, politics and sports, you can't separate these things. Stop doing what they
Sports
said."
is politics.
Yes, so they said they felt like Tega was, after all, you are just from Abraka somewhere in the south
Uh-huh.
south. What does she want to say about this? But as we speak right now, UEFA has backed down on that decision to allow Russia to bring on the under 17s into the
Yes,
competition.
they're like it's logistically impossible, and it is. It is. Where do you start to draw the line? Okay, you can fly, but you cannot fly higher than 70 meters. Are you going to monitor the people that are going to fly higher than 70 meters? Do you even monitor people on Third Mainland Bridge? You know, the other day I was talking about it. Let me just breathe small into Third Mainland Bridge.
Sure, that is.
And I was looking. I was like, what's the speed limit for Third Mainland Bridge? Because nobody drives the speed limit on Third Mainland Bridge, even with all the potholes. I'm like, why are people flying? This is the speed limit. It's written on the ground. Why are you flying?
I see what you did there, Tega.
But hey, that's what like, and that's what with UEFA, it was always going to be a slippery slope. You want to bring in the under 17s because you're saying boys and girls shouldn't suffer for a war that they can do nothing about. What of the other athletes that had no input in deciding whether the war happened? How do you want to stop that? What of those people that say they're not in government? They're saying, okay, we didn't decide the war. Then they go on to collect their podium, their trophy, and they now do one signal
Mm.
or wear one shirt. Remember the Russian athletes that did that? So it was just logistically impossible. So they've dropped it there, like, especially again with the war in the Middle East. I don't know if it's Israel and Hamas or Israel and Palestine or all of them together. But especially with that war, the problems just got deeper, and they're just like, you know what? Let's just leave it as it is. When the invasion is over, we invite them back. End of discussion. It was just not possible.
That leaves us to get down to Howard Hebb this time, Howard Webb this time around, where he says, "What step taken already to avoid a repeat of Luis Diaz VAR error? And can we run with this assurance right now?"
I laugh in Swahili. What are you saying? VR is not the problem. Sorry.
Okay.
The technology is not the problem.
Yes.
It's the people behind the technology that are the problem. So except they want to change all the EPL referees. They said, oh, the EPL referees got together. We discussed about it at length, talking about we're opening many communication channels, how many minutes, or all the talks that they were having. And at the end of the day, that's not the problem with VAR. The problem with VAR is the EPL referees, because I've seen VAR work everywhere else. Look, even if there's one or two controversies, you don't hear these controversies in La Liga. You didn't see it at the World Cup. People say, oh, it may have taken too long, but you didn't see it at the World Cup. You don't see it in Italia Serie A. In fact, let me shock you. Last weekend, I had the good fortune of watching the Scottish Premier League. You don't see it in the Scottish Premier League. They have only 12 clubs there. You don't see it. They're smaller. They're aspiring to be the EPL. So the problem is not that we discussed and did. The problem is the people behind the making of the decision. So except they are bringing new referees, not EPL referees, then we are okay. Because EPL referees they take everything else into consideration but the technology that is before them. If it's a subjective decision, they will look at it semantically. Or they will think about their mate and say, oh, my mate has had a bad day, so let me not compound this problem by telling him to go to the money. So the problem, trust me, Howard Webb can say all he wants. Next weekend in the EPL, sorry, not this weekend, but the next weekend at the EPL, they still have like two controversial decisions.
Looks like the green light is beckoning already, so we just pause now to allow traffic flow by. But then let's get to read all of your thoughts coming to 0809 444 0981 WhatsApp messages. But that will be after we come back with Smooth 98.1 FM, and it is the Locker Room with Tega on Onojiafe.
I feel good. Eva.
Just feels good.
So good. People got some cool ground anytime when they are around. If they want show you power,
I'm so sleepy.
one day
I need to
knock them power. People got pain for body, pain from fever. Any kind pain they bow.
So we'll come back with message and then give them the number for more message.
Okay. After 3 days, if body no tranga, go see Dr. Na Shalina Healthcare Limited, them market am.
The word is out. From the glistening beaches to the glamorous city
So the
streets.
spirit breaker for
The real housewives
speed
of
limit
Lagos
for the third
City
mainland
is
bridge,
here.
3MD.
Your favorites, Chioma,
Pothole.
Iyabo,
Yeah, it's supposed to be the- but even that one, they fly over it. Ah, you enter that mainland bridge like this, you just see zigzag. Oh God, why don't you just slow down?
I see
And
that.
it's so reckless, but you understand that he's trying to avoid the pothole that he didn't know was there. Like this morning when I was coming on Third Mainland Bridge, and you know it was
What
raining,
does future
and then the
forward
parts of the
banking
bridge
mean
are
to
not
you?
lit. So
Speed, innovation,
Lagos
convenience,
State. Well, Third
lifestyle
Mainland Bridge
goals,
is
or just
federal,
simply
but
getting
it's still
service
Lagos
that is
State. It's
designed
inside
just for
Lagos
you.
State.
Yeah,
So
we
they should
thought
write
you
letter.
might like all of that and more. That
It
is
is
why
such
we
a
specially
horrible thing.
created
First of all, Lagos is
Providus
not even
Bank
lit up.
for
If
you
Lagos
to
is
take
lit
care
up,
of your daily
coming in this
experiences.
rain
At
this
Providus
morning,
Bank, we believe that
cars
banking
flying,
should
we're
be
just like,
all about
okay.
you and your
Then we got to
business
Third
and how to
Mainland
get
Bridge.
you to the next
God, I
level.
beg.
If you do not already have a
People just be
Providus
going,
Bank
let's you just see
account,
one
please
full
speak with our
scene.
business
So now, when I
concierge
see a car
on
overtaking me,
0700
I slow down because him is zigzagging front.
Then
or
that's
email
just-
Yeah,
business
yeah.
concierge at
No.
providusbank.com
Third
to
Mainland
switch
Bridge
to
is
a
an
future
obstacle course
forward
now.
banking experience.
Massive
Providus
potholes.
Bank. Future forward banking.
People got capsule full ground anytime when they around. If they want show,
Yeah, we'll come back with this message.
bring one day to knock and power.
These two messages
People
and then
got
more.
pain for body, pain from
Give them the
fever.
numbers again.
Any kind
Give
pain
them the
they
numbers.
bow for Ibuka. That's why I dey carry up always. Ibuka mama better way. Ibuka they buy me always. Ibuka they for you always. After 3 days, if body no tranga, go see Dr. Na Shalina Healthcare Limited, them market am.
This is Smooth Breakfast.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM. It's still the locker room. Tega Onojiafe is still here as we get into more sporting action this morning. We expect to read your messages reacting to any of the sporting stories this morning on 0809 444 0981. Once again, 0809 444 0981. Find us on youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Leave the messages there also. We'll pick them up. But
All
let's
right.
see a message from Tayo.
Let's read from Tayo. Tayo says, why do I feel like this match is going to be a sophisticated draw? He's talking about the match between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia. He said, I wish the team well. Would Ahmed Musa play so that he can add more caps? I cannot answer those questions for you. And then he says, Howard Webb and co should go. There is no such thing as opening communication. If World War III should start, Howard Webb and co started it. That's all I can say. But yeah, their decisions are a bit questionable. I think they have their apology letter pinned down, and the fact that they have the phone number of the coaches and they are quickly calling to say you should have won the game or you should have been awarded the penalty or there should have been a red card that game. It's like they seem more ready to apologize than they are to do the right thing. All right, so please send your messages to
0809 444 0981 for the sports messages, while you also will leave messages for us on YouTube. So, down to retirement issues. What age is right for it? Belgium international star Hazard announced his retirement, let that known on Tuesday after failing to find another club following his release by Real Madrid.
All right, so tricky one for Eden Hazard. The things that people used to brag about this Eden Hazard boy. Now, don't get me wrong. When I watched Eden Hazard, I always thought, oh, this is a good player. It's an exciting player to watch. Then I started hearing people say, oh, greatest ever. I'm like, which Eden Hazard are you watching? The one I'm watching, there's another one people are watching. But for some reason, especially at Chelsea and especially EPL fans, let's talk about how, oh, greatest. He doesn't sit at that table, honey. In fact, he doesn't even sit at the table next to that table. So you guys should calm down. Don't make me talk bad about a guy that is retiring and made football interesting. But he was a good watch and he was a good player. But I don't think he retired because he wanted to. I think he retired because circumstances happened. He went to Real Madrid, didn't work out. And then the clubs that were coming for him were not clubs he'd like to go to. But that's the performance you have right now, Oga. So those are the people that are coming, and he was just like, you know what, I'm just going to retire. And so he retired. But yeah, good player he was, especially when he played at Chelsea, and a few years when he played in Belgium. Excitable to watch. Unfortunately, I heard that some of his work ethic was really poor. Like he didn't train very well, you know. And people were using it to brag that time and saying, "Oh, he doesn't train, but see what he does on the pitch." So you can imagine what he will do if he trains. The hallmark of a good player is discipline. If he can't train, he's not a good player. I don't care what magic tricks he has in his pocket.
That's true.
You have to train to some level.
And that's what even the critics of CR7 will give to him anytime. Say
No,
it was
no,
the
let's even leave CR7. CR7 is mania. You know, his training is extra. He's out of this world. When you talk CR7 now, you're talking one of the greatest athletes in sports. You know, so you talk about LeBron, you're talking one of the greatest athletes in sports. That's a completely different criteria. Those people's levels were different. You know, sleep at 8, don't take alcohol, don't eat this. I'm just like, what is happening here? It's not a career. Why are you doing it like it's prison? So that's a next level.
I see that.
But just basic training. Train like Ericsson. CR7 is far. Train like Rakitic, you know. Don't
Yes.
train like Luka Modric. Don't do anything extra. He did. So those were one of the things that and they were using it to brag at the time, and I was like, that's not a compliment. If somebody is not training well, you know, you have to put in the work. And I think that's part of the problem, because when he was in the system and it functioned for a while, but when you know the chips were down, he had no structure per se to fall back on, and his magic was not enough. But good one, he had a good career. So congratulations on retirement. Let's see what he does next.
And for anyone who's followed Tega on the inside the locker room, you would know she does not encourage bad behavior, and two, she would tell you do the basic.
Just
and you'll be
do
fine.
the basics and move on.
And then that takes us to Napoli, the owner asking for the Super Cup to be moved from Saudi Arabia over the outbreak of the war, where you talked about not knowing if it's the Middle East or.
Okay, so it's the Middle East, but the country because I didn't even know that some countries were not countries. So some people were not countries. So this war has, you know, opened my eyes to a lot of things. But yeah, has one of the things that happened as a result of this war, attack and defense, whatever is happening there now. Saudi Arabia had written, or well, officially there was in the news that Saudi Arabia had written to the US and saying they're not going to be continuing any talks about negotiations with Israel once this war started. And so whether they are actively sending help there or they're actively sending weapons there, whatever it is, they've decided that they're going to stop that. So automatically you can say now that they've picked a side and they're involved. And the Napoli president is just like, look, there are 4 teams going. I think Napoli, Fiorentina, Lazio, and Inter Milan. Why are we going to where there is war when we have stadia across Italy? And so he was saying, look, we can just pick one stadia in Italy and do it, and be here where it is safe, where it is secure, as opposed to flying them to a region where we don't know where the blockades are, where the bombing is going to come next. And it doesn't matter that it's Saudi Arabia, because they've picked a side. You don't know what the conflict with that side is going to be. So why are we doing it there? The thing is, the Super Cup is all the way in January.
So
the war could end tomorrow.
okay.
Okay. I'm hoping that the war could end tomorrow. So I think it's too hasty a decision to take. There's a reason they went to Saudi Arabia in the first place. And when they still had all the stadia there, they didn't build the stadia yesterday. They had them there,
Yeah.
but they decided to go to Saudi Arabia. There was a reason they chose to go to Saudi Arabia. So yes, it is October, and yes, I think I'm supposed to just rushing and changing location. Maybe give it time.
How certain are we that Saudi may not even call up the friendly we've got coming for this reason also?
On Friday.
On Friday.
When their players have already
Okay.
But look, at the end of the day, it's a tricky situation. But Saudi are not directly involved, even if they are involved. So I'm sure they can still send their team out.
All right, that takes us back to the Premiership once again, as West Ham's Bowen says, career best from behind England recall.
All right. So he was hoping after last season that he was going to make the team. That the way he played for West Ham was going to be able to make the team for the World Cup or maybe called up to a few competitions. He wasn't, and he felt disappointed. Like every player that will be disappointed. But he said he just kept working hard and playing with a smile. Once you play happy, you give your best football. So he's very excited right now to be called for the next few England matches. And I'm just like, I like your speech and I don't want to bust your bubble. But there's a few injuries here and there.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, Saka is not in the team. So
And that's why you were getting
so
this.
there's your replacement. Just know that you're the spare tire in the boots. Don't be imagining that because they brought you out now, to to replace a bus tire, that you are the main guy. Oh, Tega, you're such a horrible person. But yeah, at the end of the day, if the team were strong, would he still make it? But I like the attitude he's taking there, that if I'm called upon by the English national team, I will come there happy, I will come there grateful, I will come there honored, and I will give my best because I don't know what to go from here. I always remember this guy, Emil Heskey. For the longest time, I used to wonder why English coaches used to call him for the national team. Then one time, one coach said, "Oh, I like his attitude." That was it. Had nothing to do with football. Said, "Oh, that Emil Heskey has one of the best attitude. He's always smiling. He's always cheerful. He's so friendly." I was like, "What? You took that over ball control and a dribble? I mean, really? That's what you took?" But coaches pick what they pick for whatever reason. So maybe if Bowen comes in, with his good attitude and does the work, knuckles down, does the work that he's given, maybe he'd become a regular, feature in the on the team. You never know. So I like the attitude he's taking.
Okay. Let's close the locker room with this next story. Manchester United in the story, the Red Devil, but this time the women.
Yes,
the women Devils now.
Really tough qualifying match for Manchester United. When the draws were made, everybody knew that they were going to come out, and it was going to be serious. And the first half was bloody. My goodness, they wanted to kill Ebbs. It's like she was flying everywhere. She was octopus Ebbs. But fortunately, she was able to keep it goalless at halftime. And then immediately after the break, PSG scores a goal. And at that point, I'm sure a lot of fans would have been like, one, it don't be. As they scored one, they're going to score 2 and 3. No, but they kept their defensive shape. And I think maybe in the 69th to 70th minute, they scored the equalizer and they were able to hold out for a draw for the rest of the match. So I think this one will be decided with their second leg in Paris. But Paris would not be happy. They were the club with the hype. They were the club with the, with the history behind them. Manchester United are a club that is being run effectively, and they were able to hold their ground, defend their home turf, and get the result. So kudos to them.
Now that's a fine place for us to close up with the messages coming in. The good son says, "Please, Chelsea fans should not vex us this morning. Eden Hazard, greatest care."
I mean, even EPL fans say stuff like that. So.
And then AY from Oniru says, "So sad that Eden Hazard's career went downhill after joining the evil empire Real Madrid from Chelsea. Man had such great prospects. He should have come to Barcelona instead. Such a tragic ending at 32." AY from Oniru, but he retires with good money.
That's not, but he's won pretty much everything there is to win, apart from with his country.
Two EPL titles to his name.
Yeah.
And then
2 EPL titles to his name.
What else do we have there? We've got Mohammed who sent in a message. Okay, then moving on. Tayo comes up with a message. What Tenag and Co cannot do, Manchester United women can do it better with the gear watching them on the sideline.
Yeah, the hair was at the stadium to watch him, and I thought that was interesting. Still committed to the team, when he's not there. And we go over to YouTube where Charles Chidozie says Eden Hazard was a premium flop, but they won't agree. Baba went to Madrid to replace Ronaldo, but we are still looking for him till today. What he couldn't do in 3 years, Jude Bellingham has done in 8 weeks. Charles Chidozie, let's just fade out from here.
For a man who's retired.
And thank you. I didn't say nicer things, but hey, that hit home. All right, so thank you for sending in your messages to YouTube. Thank you for watching us there. Thank you for sending your messages to WhatsApp. Thank you for listening to the locker room. Till we'll meet again on Friday, and by Friday we will have a lot of results, and we'll also discuss the Nigeria game against Saudi Arabia, and we'll let you know what's going on there. But thank you so much for joining us on the locker room. Till we meet again on Friday, Omashe.
Thank you so much, Tega. And with that will come the end of the show. It's the locker room with Tega Onojiafe. She'll be back on Friday. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.